Well, here we are. It is a Friday night in the middle of the month, and that means there's an asset meeting to be had. I am the president. My name is Will. Down below me is the treasurer himself, Mr. Eddie Trevino.
How's everybody doing?
Hopefully, y'all are having a good Friday evening. It is the 18th. Normally, we meet on the second Friday, but some of y'all may have seen the virtual Texas Star Party that happened last weekend. We're going to talk about that, recap it for y'all that may have missed it. And we are the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas. We are a astronomy club based in Beaumont, Texas. And we've been around since the 80s and been a club that's all about outreach, all about promoting astronomy and promoting it to the general public and to each other through star parties and that sort of thing. And we got a fun evening for y'all tonight. We got some cool topics, and we see some people jumping in the chat. A lot of friendly faces. What's up, TJ? Hope y'all are having a good evening. And we'll just get into this thing. I know Eddie's got an awesome solar report coming up for y'all, and we've got all kinds of cool things. So I'm just gonna roll on into it, Eddie.
Okay, sounds good, Will.
Observing reports. We always start off this way. If you've been out observing, we want to hear what you've been looking at because it is the summer months now, I guess, right? It's definitely hot like the summer months are usually. So I guess that's where we are. And if you've been out there observing, we'd love to hear it. Throw it down in the chat room, wherever you're watching from, whether it's on the Astronomical Society's Facebook page, the Deep Sky Dude YouTubes, wherever you're at. Be good to see where y'all are at. We got John in the Rio Grande Valley down in South Texas. What's up, John? Good to see you. We got Dawn from Garrett County. Is that
that'd be Maryland, I think.
Maryland, yeah. I always get my M abbreviations messed up. Sorry, Dawn. I don't go that way much, so I don't or mail things over there, I guess, very much. So, but yeah, if y'all have been out observing, let us know. I don't know, Eddie, have you been out taking in some photons lately?
I have not, Will. I'm going to blame the rain. It's been raining an awful lot, but honestly, I just haven't done it.
Yeah, that's the same story here. The last couple of nights have been clear down here in the Beaumont area. The moon has been out the last few evenings. It's been really nice, but it's just been really hot, really humid. And those summer storms that can pop up instantaneously have been popping up. So I haven't even tried to throw a telescope out to get any observing done. But cloudy here, Don says, yeah, that's just the way it goes. It seems to be that time of the season where that sort of happens. But if you do have an observing report, we'd love to hear it. Throw it down in the chat. Last month I showed this picture, and we were all like, wow, this is the weirdest thing. If you really take a look at what's happening in this picture, it's pretty wild stuff. And some emails went out, like wondering, what it was. And I looked for like an hour today on my email, and I could not find the message to read it back and to remember all the details. But Buster Wilson, a longtime TSP attendee, filled us in a little bit along with some others. And it turns out that sitting at the chair of this telescope is Al Nagler himself.
Wow.
Hanging out, looking through this telescope. And next to him is the one and only John Dobson. The reason we all have Dobsonian telescopes, Mr. John Dobson, and this moment was captured. And there's multiple articles online about this telescope. It was actually pretty fascinating. And I wish I had that for y'all. Maybe I'll do it next month where I take the next step and bring you the links or whatever. But this is such a cool moment because, Al Nagler invented Teleview eyepieces, right? We all know and love Teleview. I think, Eddie, you may have a couple of Teleview in your arsenal.
Yeah, 1 or 3, possibly 4.
Maybe 9, yeah, and it's always a good view. I know, Eddie, like when you have something in I think it's a Delos or one of the ones that you have, it's a beautiful view. It's just a really good piece of glass. It's a good instrument.
Yeah, they work well in our refractors, very well. They're well corrected.
Yeah, and so Mr. Al Nagler himself, apparently he had to custom build the little white telescope that is rammed into the side of the big blue telescope. He had to custom build that apparently, and pretty cool stuff. So I just thought I'd give y'all that update because some emails went around. People were like, "What is this?" And some other people had the answers because they were there. So very cool.
Yeah, I just want to point out, Will, if you look behind the telescope, you can just see the top of somebody's head there.
Mm-hmm.
That may or may not be me.
Yeah, with a cell phone, you're a time traveler. Right? He's been to many TSPs he never told us about. But yeah, you can see him right there. It almost looks like your head is a tripod, Eddie. I don't know.
Yeah, it was just an odd picture.
It was an
I
odd day.
wish.
It was
That
a
would have
bad
been
hair day.
that would have been a phenomenal place to be right there, next to those two outstanding, well-known individuals.
Can you imagine? I mean, legends in their fields. Just doing what you do at TSP, hanging out with each other, looking through other people's telescopes, right? So, fantastic stuff. I just thought I'd update everybody with that for those of y'all that were curious. For those of y'all that are curious about our club, again, we are a nonprofit based here in Southeast Texas. Dues for our club are only $30 per year for your family. We do prorate it, the price if it's your first year. And those are some of the benefits right there. You can read through those. It's a great club. I've been a member since I think 2009 or so, somewhere in there. And it's just a fantastic group of people to be associated with. And if you want to do that, you can either talk to myself or Eddie, and we can get that rolling for you.
I would say that all the emails that are pertinent, if you want to contact Will or myself, are on our webpage, which is Astronomical Society or Asset at, what is our webpage, Will?
Asset-astronomer.org, which is right there, down below. Yeah, you can go there. We do have membership forms and stuff like that. So when you join the club, Eddie's going to want to know where he can mail you stuff or where he can email you stuff. And we'll get you in. If you do shop on Amazon, we do have an Amazon Smile account. Go to smile.amazon.com, and you put in that you're supporting. I know it's kind of small there, but you can kind of see it. The Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas down in the bottom left. And you can get that on there. And every dollar you spend, we get 0.5% of that dollar for free. So please shop on Amazon and give us your Jeff Bezos money. We'd appreciate that. And I'll just keep on rolling here. Treasurer report. And he happens to be here, Mr. Eddie Trevino.
Excellent.
Eddie.
Well, our bank account is healthy. We had one new member sign up in June. He got in for half price because we prorated him. That brings our total membership up to 37 families. So if you join, your entire family is included. And this month, by the end of the month, I will have to send our official roster to the Astronomical League so that everyone is a member of the Astronomical League and will be able to receive the Reflector magazine from them. It comes 4 times a year, and they'll be able to work programs and do observations and send them in to the A League, and they'll get certificates and pins, certifications. And I want to also report that we've gotten our first quarter 2021 Amazon Smile donation. So what Will just spoke about, if you want to support us, the people that do support us, we get a quarterly donation from Amazon. And we just got one. It was $41.31. That brings our grand total of donations from Amazon to $1,422.77.
Wow.
And that's since mid 2016.
Wow. So thank you. We defunded Blue Origin by $1,400. So thank you, internet people everywhere.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for your support. And if, as Will says, if you want to join, best thing to do is go to our website, and you can see it scrolling across the bottom. You can navigate to the page that shows how to contact us. Send us some emails, and we'll put you on the right track.
There you go. And definitely do that. One thing I wanted to point out Phil's comment here. He did have an observation report. Says he's been working on the North America Nebula in Pennsylvania. Actually had 2 nights of clear skies somehow in all this. So very good, Phil. Thanks for sending that in. Yeah, North American Nebula is a good one right there in Cygnus. And
no, it's in Pennsylvania, Will.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the north in Pennsylvania. Yeah, that's what I meant. In Pennsylvanius? Is that the name of the constellation of Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Anyway, yes. So shop on Amazon, and we would love to have your free Jeff Bezos money. Also, coming up at the end of the year, we are having asset elections, which means treasurer, everything on the board, secretary, it all comes up for re-election. And so I'm just putting the bug out there. If being one of those vice president, if one of those things interests you, this is the time to put your name in the hat, start, printing flyers and putting them in places, getting people to vote for you. And we'll be having in-person meetings again very soon. So probably by, the end of this year at least. And then we'll have elections in person probably at the end of the year. So, get those nominations in. If there's somebody you want to nominate in the club for a position, definitely do that.
And if you want to self-nominate, don't be shy. There's not a better way to be involved with the club than to be on the board. And we welcome anyone and everyone. And if you want the treasurer job, I will gladly hand it off. It's easy and it's very engaging. It's interesting.
Yep, and you get to be a part of a scientific community that's doing good in our community. Well, that was before COVID, of course, and we're going to start that again after everybody gets squared away and we can start getting back to in-person meetings, which is something we're going to be talking about as the months and the summer passes. So be watching for that as well, because we have outreach requests. These are just some of the people that have hit our club up. I'm still on hold on all this stuff until we feel like we're comfortable and ready to begin to take our telescopes back to these locations and show people the nighttime sky. This is a slow thing. It's not something we need to rush right now. And, we'll decide when we're ready as a club to start going back out and doing these events for these people. And it's something we need to start thinking about, because I think outreach is going to be very important for a lot of people as we come out of this whole pandemic. We've been isolated for a long time. People are going to want to get out and mingle and learn, right? So as it becomes safer and safer to do so, Asset will be there for our local community to do outreach. We're just kind of inching toward, we're not in any rush. I'm not in any rush yet. So
baby steps.
Yeah, exactly, Eddie. So, again, this is something I'll keep talking about at Asset club meetings as we move forward. And again, one day we'll be like, man, we're really excited about that event next week or whatever. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for those. Quick recap and why we're having the meeting tonight instead of the second Friday of the month like normal was that we had the 2021 Texas Star Party. It was an online thing. You could join in from all over the world. And we did. We had people joining in from all over the world. We had some awesome guest speakers. You see a lot of them there. My friend Joe Califf, the president of the Houston Astronomical Society, made this awesome flyer. And it was a great event. We had 3 nights of fun. We had the one and only Mr. Larry Mitchell there giving his keynote talk from Texas Star Party that would have been in 2021. We just had it online. And so Larry did his talk online. And I have to tell you that Larry's talk really brought me back to Texas Star Party. It was really cool. He did a great job, and he always does with his list and with the talk itself. We had the one and only Stephen J. O'Meara with us as well, who, if you've ever read a Sky and Telescope article, you've probably read Stephen J. O'Meara's work. He has multiple books out there on the Messiers, on the Herschels. He has lots of books. And right now he has a book out there on Botswana astronomy, because that's where he lives, in Botswana, Africa. And so his talk was all about astronomy in Botswana, and it was absolutely fascinating. And he's such a cool guy. This guy discovered the spokes of Saturn, ladies and gentlemen, with his bare eye, okay, like in a telescope, right? But he saw the spokes of Saturn before Voyager, the probe, went out there. So just to let you know, that's the kind of observer this guy was, or is. He still is.
So, Will, real quickly, what are the spokes of Saturn?
Well, it's a phenomenon that they don't fully understand yet on Saturn, where toward the inner rings, you get these little spokes. And I'm not too well versed on it. And the coolest thing was, neither was Stephen O'Meara. He was just looking at Saturn, and he calls himself a visual athlete. And he does that because he doesn't just look at something and move on. He'll spend an entire night on one thing, right? Just to see what the universe will give him. He'll get hints of something. It's just like observing. You'll be looking at something and you'll get a hint of swirl or something on Jupiter, right? Whatever it is. And this guy is just like, he's got eagle eyes. Wow. And he saw the spokes of Saturn right before they were discovered. See, I grew up in an era where we always knew there were spokes around Saturn, right? Because I came in the 80s or whatever. But this guy was out doing visual astronomy when I was in diapers, and didn't even know what visual astronomy was, right? And he was out there. He was the first human to spot Halley's Comet on its return. This guy right here. Yeah. So pretty incredible stuff. It was an amazing talk. If you missed it, you can always go back and watch it. It is night 2, I believe. And yeah, it's night 2 of the virtual Texas Starberries 3 days. Bill Dixon in the house, and Mary from the garden spot of Southeast Texas, beautiful big city. I like that. That's a great way to put it. We got Bridge City, we got Botswana, we got all over the world, y'all. But it was a great thing. We had Dr. Carl Gebhardt, who is the dark energy expert at McDonald Observatory. And the guy was super enthusiastic. If you missed his talk, y'all, I'm serious. Y'all have to go back and watch these. They're fantastic. Carl's talk is really interesting. They are on the verge of figuring out what this is. And if dark energy is figured out, it's going to be him and his team, essentially. And it was just super cool. He was he's super enthusiastic, and he wants you to understand what they're doing, right? And it's super easy to understand stuff, but he'll go as deep as you ask him to. And yeah, it's just a really cool guy, really cool talk. Lots of fun. Please go back and watch that again if you haven't seen Carl's talk. We had the one and only David Levy on, y'all. I mean, this is one of the guys that got me into astronomy as a kid. I was in 1994. I'm watching this comet hit Jupiter on Shoemaker Levy 9. So as a kid, I had to know what all that meant. And there he was. He was there with us, which was pretty incredible.
Wow, Will, you guys had some heavy hitters.
Yeah, we did. It was I couldn't get it to go to the next slide. It was fun, and we had a lot of good time. People behind the scenes like Don Sully, Carl Baltz, and some others were able to get us some incredible speakers. And Joe and I, you see Joe is up there. We were just like, okay, we get to host a thing with David Levy. Wow, okay, we're gonna do this. And so we did, and so it went, and it's a blur to me, y'all. It really is a blur. We had Mr. Stephen Hummel. Y'all all know Stephen Hummel, good friend of mine, dark sky advocate for the McDonald Observatory, and he did a talk for us on dark skies and why we should care about dark skies. And that his talk made me become a member of the IDA that night. So it was a great time, and thank you to everybody who was hanging out with us and enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun, and it was great. Courtney says, and thank you, Courtney. It was great. We just wanted to bring people back to TSP, remind them of what it was like to be at Texas Star Party since we've had to cancel it 2 years in a row, right? So we had fun. We had fun doing it. Corey, what's up, dude? I think you're in Bridge City too, right? Lots of Bridge City in the house tonight. That's awesome.
Well, I just want to say good on you and Joe for putting it on and hosting that. You guys did a great job. I know it was a lot of work, 3 days and all those speakers, and it went off really, really well.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Eddie. Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. Joe Califf, there he is on top, president of the Houston Astronomical Society, good friend of mine, and he's just a really, really smart dude and made things go just really simply. It was a great team. We had Don Sully behind the scenes. He was sort of in the background, just making sure we were on track, making sure everything was good. He was also heavy in the planning of it. We had a great team. Carl Baltz, our friend, Carl, helped wrangle all the cats, get all the sponsors, and everything kind of where it needed to be. And so it allowed Joe and Don and I to really just kind of do the thing, and that's what we did. And we had a great time. And who knows? Maybe it'll become a yearly thing from the Prude Ranch. Who knows? We'll see. But that's yet to be determined. So
very cool.
Yeah, thank you, Eddie. Appreciate you. And during all that, we were able to do this. We were able to say, hey, there's going to be an in-person star party, more than likely, in 2022 at the Prude Ranch, and it will be called Texas Star Party for once, after 2 years of not having it. And that will be April 24th through May the 1st. So mark your calendars, kids, because y'all know where to find me when that comes. And I bet you'll probably find Mr. Eddie Trevino there. If I can make it,
I will make it.
Yeah, he might be down there with his 18-inch telescope, pointing it at that fuzzy stuff up there, seeing what he can see. And
that's a good time of year. That's springtime sky. That's good skies.
That's exactly right, Eddie, because it's not, it's not too hot during the day. It can get hot. Don't get me wrong, but it's not too hot yet, and the nights are actually kind of chilly. You might need a hoodie or even a heavy jacket sometimes in the mountains. But that elevation up there is like 5,000 feet or so, is primo. And, you can really, it really does elevate your observing, no pun intended. But it really does help the clarity of seeing the objects. You have less sky in between you and the objects. So it's a star party I definitely recommend, not just because I hosted the thing, but I hosted the thing because I love the Texas Star Party and I wanted to see it flourish. And I figured this was a way that I could volunteer my time to help. And so I hope to see y'all all out there. I know we've got a lot of star parties coming up, Eddie, and one of them that you and I have talked about doing but have never done is the Rocky Mountain Star Stare. This one seems cool. I've never been there, and I don't think you have either, Eddie. Have you?
I have not. No.
Yeah, it seems like a good one. It is in Colorado, down an old dusty trail, so you do have to be kind of aware of that. But other than that, the skies are pretty good. I hear the sky, the night is pretty dark there. I think it's a Bortle 3 or so if you're using the Bortle scale, something like that. But it's one that I definitely have on my list of star parties to do that I haven't done yet, like Nebraska and Winter Star Party and all those. Of course, we all know the names of those. Another one is the Nebraska Star Party, and then you can see the dates there. Another one I haven't been to, but I hear good things, and I hear it's actually pretty dark up there. You're a little further north, so you kind of miss some of the objects you can get at Texas Star Party, but that's not the point. You're going there to be amongst fellow astronomers and that sort of thing. And they got a nice lake, it looks like, Eddie. I don't know. It looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking at the geography there. It's a nice layout. No tree,
Yeah.
not a lot of trees around, and not a lot of elevation around them like mountains.
Right. It looks like a golf course. I mean, the grounds are pretty well kept, it seems like. And yeah, it's another one that I definitely encourage you all to try. And I think I'm going to try for this in 2022. It's not going to work out August 1st through the 6th for me this year because of other trips. But 1 year I will make the star party for sure, just like RMSS. Okie-Tex, y'all. This is one star party I don't miss. In the panhandle of Oklahoma. It is a very easy star party to do in that all you really need to do is bring a tent and your gear, and your dues, and you're good to go. Set up where you want, however you want. You can put your telescope on top of your tent if you want. Doesn't matter. And it's just a really cool star party. It's super, super dark. And Eddie, you've been to this one. I know you have.
I have been to this one. I can say without a doubt, this is the darkest sky I've ever been under.
Yeah.
This sky almost makes a shadow when it's complete darkness. The stars are casting a shadow on the ground.
Yep. That is 100%. I've seen that exact thing. If you're wearing a white t-shirt, you can see your shadow of your hand on your t-shirt at night when there's nothing else up. There is no light pollution anywhere nearby. And it is a beautiful star party, and it's super relaxed. It's super chill. You can go out there and pretty much everybody's on the same page. It's a good time. I really enjoy the Okie-Tex Star Party, and the dates are October 1st through the 9th. So it's getting into that fall region. You know, you're starting to throw on the heavy jackets and stuff. So it's a good star party. Trust me on that one. Try for Okie-Tex. Another one is the El Dorado Star Party, and I think this is the last one that we have coming up this year. El Dorado is always on the weekend after, or I'm sorry, the month after Okie-Tex, and it's another good one. And you can definitely find Eddie and I out there. Lots of years. I mean, I've been there since 2011. I don't know when your first year, Eddie, was.
It was a few years before that. It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
This star party is an easy star party to get to. I mean, it's far enough out where you get dark skies, but it's not, you're not doing 14 and 16 hours of driving.
That's right.
This is a easily accessible star party for us, at least from our area in Beaumont. And the family that puts it on does a great job. They're so gracious. The Meter family, and the ranch is just a wonderful place to be. The X Bar Ranch.
Love the X Bar. In fact, Eddie and I can be found at the X Bar sometimes when El Dorado Star Party is not even happening. It's just that cool of a place to go to observe. The infrastructure there is great. We can basically drive out onto this little area and park our telescopes out there. And it's good times. Great dark skies. It's not the darkest skies in the world. But again, like Eddie said, you don't have to drive across the globe basically to get there, which is always nice.
Yeah.
So come join us at ESP 2021. We'd love to have you with us out there.
And if anyone out there is a little bit nervous about attending a star party, get with one of us. I mean, we'll walk you through everything, things you might need, things you definitely won't need. I mean, I remember my first star party. It was like I packed everything but the kitchen sink. And one of our fellow members is like, okay, let's go through your gear. You don't need this.
Yeah.
Did you bring this? Well, go get it. And it's just a fun time. It's camping.
It is camping with a side of astronomy. That's a great point, Eddie, because sometimes you'll go camping and the sky doesn't clear up all that well. So you had just the experience of camping. But there are nights where the sky is going to clear beautifully and you're going to have an all-night session. Sometimes that happens multiple days in a row. And if it does, if the star party is a good one that year, you can tell because everybody by the end of the week is getting very tired. They're walking around with bloodshot eyes like, they don't really want to be talked to too much because they've all been up all night, every night, Yeah. And it's hard to sleep in the day sometimes when it gets hot outside, if you're in a tent especially. So that's one of those things that, you just over time, like Eddie said, you go to your first one and you're like, okay, now I kind of understand this and I know what I need to do next time and what I don't need to do next time. So the June calendar, Mr. Howard Miner puts this up for us. It's in our newsletter. Lots of cool stuff in there. And you can see that the virtual Texas Star Party was on there. You can see we're here at the 18th, the asset meeting. Moon is heading into waxing gibbous. It'll be full next Friday. And then on Saturday, Charles Messier was born in 1730, a guy who changed astronomy, basically. And George Hale down there on the 29th was born. That's another guy who definitely changed astronomy.
We'll also notice that the moon is in perigee on the 23rd, which is 2 days before that full moon. So that ought to be a very nice full moon. Like they got a name for it or something.
Yeah, it's like a stupor moon or something. I forget what
Yeah,
they call it. Yeah, something like that. When the moon is at perigee, yeah.
that's what the media calls the super moon.
Yeah, and we call a full moon at perigee. Okay,
Yeah, it's a full moon at perigee.
Yeah, that's a good point, Eddie. That is a super moon. We don't talk about the unsuper moons though. When we have a full moon at apogee, we don't talk about those, and we don't talk
about
new moons at perigee. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we will be talking about one new moon at perigee. I know you and I will definitely be talking about that in 2024,
Yes,
where we
indeed.
have the full total solar eclipse through Texas. You can bet Eddie and I will be in the shadow of that. I can promise y'all that.
Yep.
Oh, and cool. We've got a observer report from Doug, our good friend, Doug Donier, and there's his wife Jenny, and she says saw the first and second contact of the lunar eclipse on 5/26. Wow. But missed totality due to the moon setting into the morning clouds and fog. Wow. That's cooler.
Yeah.
That's the best observing report of the evening. Awesome job, Doug. I have not been that lucky. Like Eddie said, it's just been rain and stuff nonstop, it seems like. Hey, but hopefully we're coming out of that. I mean, it's kind of clear out there tonight. I don't know. I might throw the scope out and try to check out the moon. The moon is going to be primo tonight, guys.
Yeah, I've made a promise. My grandson has got a small telescope. We're going to take it out and look at the moon tonight.
Excellent. So you're gonna do it the right way, Eddie. I might join y'all from hundreds of miles away. It'll be fun. We'll have like a distant star party.
There you go.
So thank you again, Howard, for making that calendar for us. Let's get into some hardcore astronomy. Well, I don't know. I guess you could call it hardcore astronomy. You have to be a really, astute observer to care about the sun, right? I mean, right here in our solar system, we take it for granted every day, and I know we do. We put sunblock on, we try to escape it, whatever. We try to go for the shade, but there are people like myself and Mr. Eddie Trevino here who love the sun. And fun fact, in case y'all are unfamiliar, the sun is waking up from its several-year nap. But I don't know.
Will, you froze. Did I freeze as well? Well, we seem to be having a little bit of a technical glitch. And since Will is in control of this, I'm not sure I can do anything about it. I'm sure Will realizes that he is disrupted, and I'm wondering if the problem is on my end. I don't think so. I think we've lost Will. So I'm going to continue on. I cannot share my screen until Will comes on because he's got the controls, as I said. I will say that we have had a very active sun the last 4 weeks. There's been months this year where we've had no sunspots, at least some part of the year. This last 4 weeks, we had a sunspot or an active region every day of the month, which is incredible. It shows that something's happening. We're coming back live. I'm going to give Will a few more seconds to come back.
Okay, well,
there he is.
That's been happening a lot, unfortunately, thanks to the heat wave, I think. Sorry, everybody. Thank you, Eddie, for for being there to make sure that everything was cool.
Well, I
How
did
long
the
was it
best I
gone? How
could,
long was
though.
I out? I don't even know. I feel like I passed.
A minute, a minute and a half, maybe. Not long. So I was telling everyone that this last 4 weeks we had solar activity every day of the month, which is amazing.
That is amazing. Absolutely.
So as soon as you put my screen up, I'll start my solar
Oh,
report.
it's up right now, sir. There you
Oh,
go.
okay. Well, great.
I see a solar cycle 25 forecast.
Yes, as Will said, we go through a solar cycle, and it's an 11-year cycle, plus or minus a few months. But our last cycle was 24, as you can see here, and it had a little bit of a dip at its maximum, and then it came down, and here we are right here. We're in the minimum, but the good news is we're coming out of the minimum. We're headed up, and the first few months of this upswing, we had blanks blank days on the sun where there was no spots. And as I've said, every day of the last 4 weeks had a sunspot. In fact, we had sunspots that lasted 9, 10, and 11 days. I've got a little bit of a, like this asterisk. This sunspot 28, 24, it lasted 10 days. And it was joined by 28, 25, 26, and then 27. 27 lasted 11 days. It was the one that lasted the longest, and it was joined by 28, 29, which lasted 9 days. So we had some good long lasting sunspots. And as you can see there, we've had 46 spotless days for 2021. There were no spotless days in the last month, so there. And here's a little video that I put together that shows the spots. There's 2824, the one that lasted long. So let's see if we can keep an eye out for 2824, 2827, and 2829. They're labeled here, so that ought to be easy to do. I'll show you some videos later that are in different wavelengths, and we can see these same sunspots. There's 27. And you can tell they last a long time because they start real close to the hemisphere, real close to the middle of the sun. And this 2833 is promising to be a long-lasting sunspot, and that's where we are today. One
Oh,
sunspot.
wow.
Yeah, it's a big one. A little bit bigger than the size of the Earth, but it's a nice one. So one cool thing, there was a few cool things. The sunspots that were there, especially this 2824, had a lot of solar activity. 2824, there was 10 C-class flares and 2 M-class flares in a 24-hour period. That's just crazy. I mean, look how powerful that solar region is, that active region. There are spots associated with this, but look at those bright flashes. Those are flares of ultraviolet light and X-rays that just come blasting out of there. And then look at those arcs. Those are arcs of a solar mass, solar material just being blown off into space. So this was a lot of activity for this one sunspot. That's a lot of flares in 24 hours. Here it is in a different wavelength, and you can see a lot of the solar mass that I talked about, the coronal mass ejections, just being blown off into the sky. You couldn't see this on the other view. The other view showed mainly X-rays and ultraviolet. This one shows solar material. This one had overlapping coronal mass ejections that were one right after the other. Thankfully, they didn't hit the Earth straight on because that would have caused us problems. They weren't as powerful as activity that happens that really causes problems on Earth, but I mean, it's starting to get that way. This is a few days later, same sunspot that's rolled over almost to the edge. And look at this little bolt of lightning.
Whoa.
It just blows across the surface of the sun. And they estimate that's about 500,000 kilometers. That's about almost 1.5 times the distance from the Earth to the Moon. That's crazy. That is probably one of the biggest things that you'll see in the solar system. It's on the surface of the sun.
It looks like a fire river almost, Eddie. I don't think I've ever really seen anything quite like that, and that instantaneous. It's so fast.
Well, I think what we normally see, or what we are expecting to see, is that stuff, that material gets blown up off the surface. So we see like arcing coming up, and we call them coronal mass ejections. You can kind of see it a little bit on the limb here, but
Yeah.
this one blows sideways, and so it falls back into the sun. Yeah, you're right. It looks like a river of fire.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's that same sunspot, 2824. Here it is in that same different wavelength. And you can see we talked about the solar tsunamis last month.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it happening here. It just arcs up and goes across. It's like a tsunami of solar material across the surface of the sun. This was that same event, I think, maybe a day later. Yeah, this was on the 27th of May, and this was on the 28th of May. So that sunspot was crazy active.
Mm.
So, and then a few days later, I don't know. Yeah, this is still 2824. You can see how much material it blew off into space. This is from the SOHO satellite. This is the sun. This area is blanked out to keep the cameras from getting damaged, but the rest is what you see. All the little specks, those are individual electrons hitting the camera. But that's one of the brightest and fastest coronal mass ejections we've had in a long time.
Wow.
It's a big one, and again, thankfully, wasn't headed towards Earth. There was some activity that came towards Earth off that 28, that sunspot, or that active region 2824, and it did hit Earth, but it was a very minor flare, and it knocked out shortwave radio in North America. There was a map. It hit North America dead on, but it wasn't very strong. I mean, a strong flare that hits us that straight would cause us problems with our electrical grid and communications and our navigation systems.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a flare that blew off that was associated with active region 2831, and it was 400,000 kilometers long. And we'll see if we can't spot this in the video. It blinks in and out. It happened real quick. So here's the video. This that you see here, I think, is that big sunspot. And let's just watch what happens. You see how active it is, and all the flashing. That's all those flares that's happening. It doesn't look like it's blowing off a lot of material. Most of the material is contained in the arcing. But that's how active our sun is. Just amazing to me. All this activity. It's just it's all magnetic. Those magnetic arcs is material blowing off one side and making an arc, and if it's powerful enough, it'll blow it off into space. It'll break.
Earth is huge. It's this huge ball, but then it's this nothing compared to the sun. It's wild.
Here's the same time span in that different wavelength that I like to show. This will show you the mass ejections, and maybe you can see the tsunamis happen. Watch right here. There's that lightning bolt. This is the view you would see that's very close to what you would see in a hydrogen alpha solar telescope. You wouldn't see it as active as this. There was that big flare. Did you see it?
Yeah, wow.
I'm going to run it back just a little bit if I can.
Looked like a tornado coming off the sun or something.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to run it back without starting it over, so let's just keep it going. So there's that. And that's That's the solar report. Well, we had a sunspot or an active region on the surface every day of the last 4 months, or the last 4 weeks, excuse me. And hopefully it'll just keep getting better and better.
And I love that you put "you are here" because that's a good sign to show, what we're seeing now, these random things that Eddie was pointing out. We're just barely coming out of that minimum, and this kind of stuff does happen in the minimums, but you can kind of begin to feel that we're kind of on our way out of that minimum. We've got more spots coming, and you said no spotless days, right, Eddie?
That's right.
Yeah, so that
every day.
now, is that the first time that's happened since like this new cycle, or has there been some months where we've already had all days where we're full with spots?
It's the first time we've had it. Now, recognize it. I don't look at it from the beginning of the month to the end of the month. I look at it from meeting to meeting. So it's the first time it's happened since I've been doing solar reports, that from one meeting to the next, we've had an active region every day. Normally, there's a few spotless days. I mean, you can see from the report, we've had 42 spotless days this year. And
yeah, I guess that if you spread them out, yeah, over the months, because we're already in June.
Yeah.
It's crazy that we're already in June, but things are picking up. So now's the time to buy a solar telescope, is what Eddie is basically telling you.
Or make friends with somebody that has one.
Yeah, that's a better tip, because they're very expensive. They're a telescope built for one star. That's it. You can only use it for one star, and that's the only one you'll ever use it on. So there is that consideration to take. So, but yeah, I'm a solar observer. I know Eddie is too. And Eddie, do you have the White Light Solar? I think you have the Astronomical League White Light Solar Award, don't you?
I do not, Will.
Okay.
When I got all my equipment, we were diving into solar minimum, and I was learning to use it, and then suddenly there was very little activity.
Yeah, it went dead.
Yeah, and I think part of the certification is you have to do it within a certain time span.
Yeah, 2 months. Yeah,
two solar cycles,
2 solar rotations. Yeah. And it just has to be no less than that. You can do it in more. It's just, and I think it took me about 4 to 6 months or so.
Okay. Well, that's good learning then.
Yeah, it is. And you're just drawing the sun until you can label all the different features. And you're so good at it, Eddie. I think that you would really enjoy it. And Eddie also turned in his Caldwell Award, which I haven't heard back, but I sent that off 2 weeks ago now, at least. And so Eddie should be the proud owner of a Caldwell Award coming up pretty soon, if I guess if it all goes through. So congrats on that again, Eddie. I think you finished that at the XR range, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I was working hard doing observing. I was just busy getting as many as I could, and I hadn't really counted them up till we went home, and I started like compiling all my data. It's like, hey, I think I've got enough here to finish the observation. So I turned it in.
And that's a cool feeling, right? When you've been working hard at something and finding 80 or so objects in the nighttime sky, that's a challenge. And not one to be scoffed at. And that's a cool feeling, right? Like when you're at the end and you didn't even realize, it's like a cool bonus. You're like, man, I've got like more than I need for this award. So congrats on that, Eddie. And hopefully we can present that award to you in person at a meeting coming up soon.
That would be awesome.
That's the goal. That's the dream.
Yeah.
Dream team.
It is a lot of observations, Will, but one at a time. And you get into the rhythm of it. It's like it's just fun. You see so much. You've done it. You've done the Herschels. That's 4 times as many.
Yeah. And it took me 4 years. The Herschel did. So I was in no rush. I was kind of just like, oh, this is a Herschel, sweet, log it. It's kind of an addendum to everything else I was doing. I was doing the Messiers and Caldwells at the same time, sort of. I was doing all three at the same time.
Yeah,
Just something for the fuzzies,
That's a great way to do it because there's a lot of overlap in the observations.
That's right. That is exactly true. And if you have questions about those Astronomical League awards, y'all, just feel free to ask us any of those questions. We'd love to help y'all out because it's a feeling of accomplishment when you go through the process of doing one of these awards, whether it's the Messiers, the Caldwells, whatever you're doing. They're all challenging in their own right. And when you are done, you will feel accomplished. I promise you. I know Eddie feels accomplished because I remember what I felt when I finished the Caldwells. I was like, yeah, Hershey, or it's Messier number 2. It's like the sequel to Messier, and it was cool to get that done. So again, great job, Eddie. I look forward to presenting that award to you very soon, hopefully. So
cool. Thank you.
Keep an eye out for it. It should be in the mail very soon. For those of y'all that are in the Beaumont area, this is the ISS passes you're going to want to look for. And you may be wondering, what's the ISS? Well, it's the International Space Station, right? The ISS. Some of y'all may know about it. Some of y'all may not. You can actually see the thing and go over your house. If you can go to, there's many trackers online. I use heavens-above.com. It's a great website for this. And you can see that's where I pulled this image from. So thank you, Heavens Above. You have fans out there, and I can promise y'all that. June 25th, which is what? Less than 10 days coming up. 85 degrees. Yeah, exactly. It looks like, what, 7 days? 85 degrees, though, Eddie, at its highest point. Now, 90 is straight up. So this is just 5 degrees off of straight up. And you can see negative 3.8 magnitude. So like in golf, a negative score is brighter or better. I don't know if that made any sense, but that's how I think of it anyway. So if you see a positive magnitude number, it's a dimmer object than a negative. That's just the way it works. But negative 3.8, that's like Venus or brighter. And you can expect this moving ball of light to go over your house or wherever you happen to be. And it's cool because you can put in your location all over the planet Earth, and you can see when the ISS will be transiting your location. But mark your calendars for that one, y'all. Now, these are all in the morning. You notice the time is 0500, 4:54 in the morning on some of these. And this one that I highlighted here is at 4:56 a.m. with the height of it being at 4:57. And you can see that there. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but you can see all that. Oops, and then I went to the wrong one. There we go. This is another 2 passes you're going to want to definitely pay attention to. July 14th. I know this is a long ways out, but that's the beauty of Heavens Above, is that you can predict this stuff going out, that far in advance. This one coming up on July 14th is going to be an amazing one. 3.7 negative magnitude. You can see it starts there. It was at 9. Is that 9:08, Eddie? 2100. I'm so bad at 12-hour time or whatever, 18 hours, whatever it is. And then 83 degrees. You see there in the middle at the highest point at 2111. So that's going to be a beautiful pass. And I think I may have included, no, I didn't. I had a shot of the trajectory over across the stars, but I forgot to put it in there. So my bad, y'all.
Hey, Will, let me ask you a question. When you're looking at this data, what is the thing that you look for that stands out that makes you think, hey, I want to look at this one?
And when I first glance at all this data that comes out of Heavens-Above, it's this brightness column right here. I'm looking for anything -2 or -3, because typically that means that it's at a good beta angle, meaning that the panels are going to be like shining their light your direction. So the brighter, the better. The first panel I look at is this brightness one. Now, so I glanced and I said, ooh, 3.7, what in the world? And then I go right here. I go to this highest point tab, and I look at the altitude first before anything else. Nothing else matters to me unless it's like 4:32 in the morning, and I'm probably going to be in bed more than likely for this particular pass here. But at 2100, and then I look right over here, so it's like 83 degrees. Wow. Anything over, I don't know, 30 or 40, probably 40 or 50 is probably my limit. So, this is a decent pass, but it's going to be more over the trees versus this pass at 83 degrees is going to be right over your head, freaking you out at night. Right. So, and that's what I look at. I look right here in that column and right here in this middle column for the second piece of information. That's a great question, Eddie, because you can look at this stuff and be like, I don't understand this. Like, what in the world is all this stuff? But if you break it down, it's just date and how bright it is, and then where and when it will be, right?
So one other thing, Will, for clarity, there's two passes on the 14th of July.
That's right.
One is a negative 3.7, and the other one's a negative 0.4. Can you explain which one of those is going to be the brighter one?
Yeah, it's going to be the higher the negative number, the brighter, or should I say the lower the negative number? I don't even know how that. The bigger the negative number, the brighter the object will be. Yeah, absolutely. So the negative 0.4 is going to be a dimmer pass than the negative 3.7. And you can see kind of that, you can see it baked into the details there. It's going to be negative 0.4, and you can see it says it'll start at 10 degrees and only ever gets 14 degrees. So you can kind of judge by like how dim it's going to be. Usually if it's right above your head, it's not going to be negative 0.4. It's going to be like a moving Venus, is going across your sky. So yeah, and you see just below there on like the 16th, you see a negative 2.4. And then you look over in the middle and you see 40 degrees. That's actually a pretty cool pass there. So that's something to pay attention to when you're looking for the International Space Station. And I don't know, Eddie, that's what I look for. Is there something that stands out to you in these that you look for?
I look at the brightness. And then I look at the time, because if the time is outside of my doable range, then it doesn't really matter how high it is or how bright it is.
Yeah.
If it's really bright and there's something extraordinary going on, like one of the rockets is rendezvousing with it and there's two objects going across the sky, I'll make a special effort to go see that.
Yeah, and hopefully we're going to get some more of those. I think the last time we had a Crew Dragon, we didn't have a favorable angle with the ISS. It was going to be real low, like these 10 degrees down here. You just don't even want to mess. Unless you got like a flat horizon, that's going to be off in the trees or your neighbor's house. You'll probably never see it. But when you get them at that highest point, and we had the Crew Dragon, the first Crew Dragon with Bob and Doug, that went over, and we had it was like a 70-degree pass, and I was out in the front yard filming that with my Sony camera, and that video went wild on the internet. Just amazing stuff. And you never know what you'll catch. Like Eddie said, if you think there's going to be a vehicle chasing it, you see the ISS is coming, you better be outside, because you probably will see it. I remember back when Atlantis came over. Atlantis was meeting up with the ISS, and I didn't know that the two were going to be going over the house. But here they come, and I was like, "What?" I was like, "Oh, it's Atlantis,"
Yeah.
But I didn't have my camera back in those days. So,
and it's really cool when there's people in each object. There's people in the ISS, but sometimes the supply rockets are unmanned. But if there's people in that one too, that's two space vehicles manned. That's really kind of cool to see.
It is, and it's history too. A lot of times, like that time that I saw Atlantis, that was the last time I remember seeing, or ever. That was my first time and last time seeing a shuttle chasing the International Space Station. What I wouldn't do for some video or pictures of that, because no more shuttles, y'all. Atlantis is somewhere in a museum, right? So there's that. There is, Heavens Above also does comments and all kinds of things like that. And they do have a comet that is up right now. Looks promising. It is the second one there, the C2020 T2 Palomar at magnitude 10.7. So you see it's not a negative number, so that means it's going to be a pretty dim object. That's well beyond binocular range. I think even you probably need a telescope for this particular comet. But it's in Boötes, You see down there all the way at the right, you can see what constellation it's in, and that's going to be a good one. If it's that bright, hopefully it'll get brighter. Maybe I don't know, but this is where you can see it right now. There's Boötes, the constellation, Coma Berenices there, and Virgo. Unfortunately, you'll have the moon to contend with on the next few nights, but as time goes on, this object will be moving down this direction. So as time goes on, you'll want to be looking more towards in between Boötes and Virgo, down here in the center. And who knows? Maybe this thing will get brighter. Maybe it'll get dimmer. It's hard to tell. David Levy has a very famous quote about comets. He said, "Comets are like cats. They have tails and they do what they want." So good luck predicting or trying to put cats in a box. They put themselves in the box, right? So be on the lookout for 2020 T2 Palomar if you're into comets.
There is an Astronomical League observation certificate that you can get for looking at comets.
Yeah. And I have the silver, which I think they do it silver and gold. And I forget how many you need. I know I have the silver version, but I do not have the gold yet. I think it's like 18 comets.
I didn't know you had that, Will.
Congrats. Yeah, I think it's just the basic one, which I think is 12. I think it's 12 for the basic and then 18 for the full. I'll have to go back and look at that. But that's a cool award too, Eddie. Yeah, they want you to look at the comet over a couple of nights to see its spin and change.
Is there drawing involved in that? Sketching at all?
Yeah, I seem to remember that. But my drawings are always very crude. Typically, a comet is a ball, like a stellar core, or maybe there's barely a stellar core, but a ball. Sometimes there's a nice wispy tail. But if you go through my sketches for that award, a lot of them were ball comets. They weren't really anything too impressive.
Maybe some reference stars around it to show movement over time.
Exactly. Yeah, they want you to draw a star field on the date that you observed it, and then try to note its direction and movement. And you can do that in a couple of hours. If you look at a comet at 10 p.m. And then you come back at midnight, it's in a different spot, similar place in the sky typically, but it's definitely moved amongst the star field in 2 hours. Yeah. And the closer it is to us, the more that movement is exaggerated. And yeah, and that's all you do, Eddie. You like on the panel on the right there, you would sketch that star field to the best of your ability, which is putting dots on a page, and then you draw what you think you see. And there's merit in that because you may be an observer like Stephen J. O'Meara, who's a visual athlete. You just don't know it yet. You could be like the Happy Gilmore of astronomy or something. You're just a natural at this thing, right? So try it. You may come out to be one of the most prolific comet sketchers on the planet. Who knows?
Well, I've not drawn a comet, but I've drawn like planets, like the Great Red Spot transiting on Jupiter. And what I've noticed is when you're trying to draw, you're looking a little more critically at your object, trying to get from what you see to the paper. And so you end up seeing more. You end up seeing better than if you don't draw.
That's a great point, Eddie. It does force you to look at things you may not have noticed before. Yeah. And like Davey says here, but if you're seeing comets, you're seeing comets. Actually, you have to tell yourself that I'm looking at a galaxy 50 million light years away. Sometimes I get jaded to it, and I think we all do, because you're like, okay, I'm ready to get my night started, and you look at the old favorites, these Messiers we've all seen a million times, but it's like, you got to remember kind of what you're looking at sometimes. That's a great point, Book, to sometimes remember, stop and be mindful of what you're looking at. And then Lori says, how do you draw a star field with a 10-inch daub? Well, the funny thing is if you can get a telescope that tracks, it's a little easier, but you can definitely do it without one. You just pick a few stars in the field and you say, this is my perimeter, and I'm going to, just do this particular area. And you kind of go with that. Howard Miner,
pick the bright ones.
Yeah, exactly. And then don't worry about those little tiny nothing stars. You want to just get the main star field in there. You're not trying to be Will Tyrion and make a new star field or anything. You're just trying to get it done. Yeah, you can draw fast. That's another good way to do it without having to recenter the telescope every 6 seconds. But Howard Miner, who is Eddie and I's friend and the newsletter editor, let's be real. His sketches of the Herschels, the first 400, he sketched all 400 objects, and they are amazing sketches, y'all. His stuff of the moon is unbelievable, but his sketches of these galaxies and these star clusters is fantastic. I've been trying to get him to publish it, because I think it could, help some people maybe. But it's just such a cool thing that he went through and sketched all 400.
Yeah.
Herschel, the brightest Herschels or whatever.
That is dedication.
Yeah, that is, and that that took time. It probably took him longer than 4 years, but Howard's pretty quick, and he draws pretty fast when he was getting into it. So, yeah, the major stars in the field, we aren't Herschel. That's right. Yeah, Herschel was a beast. I don't know how he saw some of the planetary nebula he did, because when you look at them now, they're a Herschel, but they're stellar. It's like, this is just a star. There's no way this is a planetary nebula. And it turns out that it is, and Herschel saw it first. It's just crazy stuff. William Herschel was a brilliant observer. Yeah. He really was.
Coming back to Howard, you were talking about how detailed he is in his drawings. He's a wonderful observer, a visual observer. We've been at the scope together, and I'm he's looking at something, and he'll say, "Come and look at it," and I'll look at it. And I'll say, yeah. And he asked me to describe it, and I'll tell him what I see. And then I'll pull away from the eyepiece, and we'll look at each other face to face. And he'll say, well, did you see this particular detail? It's like, no, I didn't. And I'll look back, and sure enough, it's like one star that's a different color than all the rest that I didn't even notice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's amazing.
Yeah. Very deep visual observer. And he taught me a lot about visual observing, honestly. He taught me about star parties and helped me through it. And, Howard is still a great friend of ours. We still talk to him on the phone a lot, and he doesn't get out and observe as much as he would like to, but I think that's most of us, right? I mean, most of us are still stuck inside due to the rain. And, but yeah, he just, Howard can pick out some of the most amazing things in the sky. Like you said, Eddie, he'd call you over, come look at this. And you get over there and you're like, wow, like this is ridiculous. Then you realize how bad or how insignificant your telescope is compared to his, 17 and a half. So, and like Lori said, you got to be, when you're sketching, you got to be worried about those mosquitoes too. That's right. So off, thermocell, whatever you can throw at the mosquitoes. Flamethrower, I've heard, works really well too. You just got to watch your eyepieces around those. Yeah, you got to watch those mosquitoes. But
mosquitoes get bad. They are a deterrent.
They definitely are. And as we're kind of wrapping up the meeting here, y'all, I wanted to talk about this because, and I don't know a lot about this, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert on Beetlejuice, unless you're talking about the movie, and then I've seen it multiple times, too many. But if you're talking about the star, I've definitely seen it. I know I can find it for you, and I can point it out to you. But a couple of years ago, Eddie, or a year or so ago, remember Beetlejuice started getting dimmer. And they call it here the Great Dimming, which I think is hilarious. It sounds like some dumb game show name or something. I don't know. But Beetlejuice got a whole lot dimmer, y'all. And I mean a whole lot dimmer.
Noticeably.
Yeah, where you could look up at Orion and be like, what is wrong with Orion right now? And it was because Beetlejuice was getting dimmer. Now, at the time, nobody knew why. Was Beetlejuice about to explode in a supernova, which we've been waiting for years? No. Well, we don't know. And it turns out that these guys and gals did a study on this using one of the biggest telescopes in the world down at the European Southern Observatory. And they found out that it was a dust ring or a dust cloud kicked off by the star. So if you're curious of where Beetlejuice is, you can see it right there, middle screen. in Orion. I think Orion's probably one of the most famous constellations, Eddie. I don't know, maybe besides like the Big Dipper, which is an asterism anyway. I don't
It
know.
is one of the most famous. If
Maybe
people
Scorpion
know
is famous.
anything about the sky, they're going to know the Big Dipper and Orion.
That's right. Yeah, and sometimes they confuse the two. They're like, "Oh, Orion's the Big Dipper." I'm like, no, it's actually Orion. A Big Dipper's way over there. But yeah, so you can find Betelgeuse pretty easily. You need to be in the wintertime sky or the fall, winter, late spring, I guess, to see Orion. But here is this is crazy, y'all. This is actual pictures of Betelgeuse. This isn't like this. I know they're blurry, but this is spherical resolution of a distant star. Now we can look at the sun, like Eddie showed us a minute ago, and we can see spherical resolution of the sun. It's right there. It's 8 light minutes away, 93 million miles or whatever it is. Betelgeuse is like 700 light years away, and it's such a massive star that we can actually see surface detail on the star. And that's what you're seeing there in like March 2020. That bright spot is actually a bright spot on the surface, or the quote unquote surface of Betelgeuse. And what you see there is over time, in like January of 19 and December of 19, things got pretty dim, but then in January 2020, it really got dim. But you see that it got fuzzy too. It didn't just, get dim and that was it. There's like something happening to Betelgeuse. And if I go to this one, you'll see that. Now, watch as this timeline goes on. Now we're looking at someone else's sun, right? Probably not, but someone else's star could be. We're looking at that in real time and in detail here with these massive scopes, which is absolutely insane. And one thing I want you to notice is when that little arrow at the bottom, it goes all the way through 2019, not much change, and then boom, right there at like December 2020, that's when Betelgeuse really changed. And you see that it changed shape. You see that it got distorted off to the left-hand side, like over here on this side right here. And boom, you see that? It kind of elongates and it gets real dark on the bottom right-hand corner. And that's this dust cloud that Betelgeuse kicked off, actually dimming the whole star. And I think, Eddie, also they say that there was a dull spot on Betelgeuse, like a dim, cool spot that allowed this dust cloud to sort of coalesce more. Normally, the hot spots will blow the dust away, kind of like in the coronal mass ejections you showed, how it gets blown out and out of the way. Well, imagine a coronal mass ejection so large that when it comes out and there's a cool spot there, the cool spot doesn't blow the material away. It just kind of allows it to gather up.
Wow.
Yeah, and that they say they've discovered the origin of stardust here, which is, I don't know, that sounds like Nobel Prize stuff. I mean, I'm no expert about Nobel Prizes, but
that's amazing.
Yeah, when I see this data, this is why we build telescopes on mountains in places where it rains less than a billionth of an inch a year. This is why we do that. Because when something changes in the nighttime sky, we're an astute species now. We kind of notice, right? And something changed. Betelgeuse changed, and this was sort of the result of it. And that's sort of where my expertise, I guess, which is not even that. It's just like where my knowledge base of this ends. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to let this little ESO video run and let them explain it to you the way that only ESO can. ESO does an amazing job on those videos, man. That's just,
That was great. That was a great visualization of what was happening there.
yeah, they got a
I
great team
can
of animators.
remember, uh, you covered a little earlier that Beetlejuice is a red giant, so it's at the end of its life. And I remember when it was dimming, people were thinking they couldn't stop looking at it. It's like it's going to
Mhm.
go nova, it's going to go supernova. We're going to see it. We're going to see it. Of
Yeah.
course, it never happened, but
Yeah, it never happened. We've been waiting for that for years because that'll change astronomy. It'll change Orion for sure. And I wanted to say hello to Kat. I know I just saw her shoulder pop in down there. So hello, Kat.
yeah, she popped in and out and watched the video, and then she went to go tend to kids again.
Yeah, well, tell Kat we said hello. We can't wait to see y'all again in person, of course.
Oh, she'll be happy to hear that. I'll tell her. Thank you.
Yeah, and Raphael said, "Is it cloudy there?" Yes, it is. Well, it was the last few days. Actually, I can report that in Beaumont, it has been unusually clear last night, and it looks like it might be that way tonight. So maybe even tomorrow. All that moisture is going off to the east of us, which is a good thing, I guess. Right? We don't get a bunch of more rain, which is what we've already had. King Lear asks, "Do we know what the composition the dust cloud is around Beetlejuice?" I don't know that, but I can imagine it's probably a lot of carbon. It looks sooty to me. I mean, that's the general vibe that it had, and I know these stars can have a lot of carbon build up in their upper atmospheres. I don't know, Eddie. Do you know anything about that?
I would guess, Will, that if you follow the atomic chemistry, it starts out as a ball of hydrogen. The hydrogen goes through fusion and it becomes helium, and then it just keeps reducing, and you can follow that chemistry down, and I think the last thing is iron. So it's somewhere between
Yes.
helium and iron. It's going to be some basic elements.
Yeah, and it's going to be a thick cloud, so there's going to be a lot of stuff in there, like Eddie said, probably irons and just all kinds of sooty, darkish material that's going to help to hide the star. And then of course it had the dim section come along with it, which made it go even further down. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to explode anytime soon, which is, I know, very sad. Yeah, who knows? I mean, we'll see. There's still plenty of time for it to, before it can, or before it will explode, whatever. And
we'll see it after the event. I mean, how far away is it, light years wise?
It's like 700, I think. They're having trouble getting an exact number because of how cataclysmic it is, I think. So
it could have happened yesterday. We just won't see it for 700 years.
Yeah, that's the problem. Let's hope it happened 700 years ago tomorrow. Well, let's wait till Orion comes back up. So
next
December.
winter.
Yeah, next December, 700 years ago. Hopefully this thing blew up and made a nice cloud for us to look at as time rolls on. And Lori says, did you see it bulge out on one side? Yeah, it's crazy how much that dust cloud distorted Beetlejuice. And it's crazy that we can even get that kind of resolution on that star anyway, which is just absurdly awesome. So I think that's pretty cool. And then Jeremy says, Tom Calderwood, author of The Great Dimming of Beetlejuice, there's already a book about it out there, March 21st by Sky and Telescope, spoke at MAS, that's the Memphis Astronomical Society, in April at Memphis Astron Society. There you go. So check that out.
How cool is that?
And I think you can follow the Memphis group on Instagram. I think that's right, Jeremy. Is that correct? I think I'm following you guys. And great group. Great. I mean, it's a sister club at this point to us down here in Texas. Got better music down there, I think, maybe. So yeah, I thought I'd throw that at y'all because that story or that article that I just showed was published on the 16th. So just a couple of days ago, this thing came out, and they finally have the data and the evidence to make the claim, to make the statement.
So they've been studying this for a couple of years now, right?
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, and I guess they have, the paper is probably way too long and way too hard for me to understand, but the abstract was cool, and I could read that part for free. I think it's $8.99 just to read the paper, unless you have a subscription to that journal. It's like Nature, whatever. So, But
I think I'd rather read the book that this gentleman.
Yeah, that Jeremy recommended. Yeah, absolutely. And you can find them on YouTube too. Memphis Astron Society. There you go. And he says you guys have much better production. Well, thank you, Jeremy. I mean, we're just using a shoestring budget here.
That's all Will over here.
This guy over here. I have a secret guy that does all my work for me. He's just in the background. But
you know a guy, huh?
I know a guy who does live streams. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, Jeremy. We appreciate you watching. Now, as we're going to wrap up the meeting here, I thought it'd be cool to for us to kind of take a look in the sky. You know, just we'll open up a planetarium software and look around for some stuff. So if y'all have questions about what's going to be up in the night sky, it can be about anything that you think might be up in the nighttime sky coming up. Let's get those questions in, and I'll open up the software and we'll do a little segment called "What's Up." All right, so I've got Sky Safari Pro open here. This is not what the actual horizon looks like. I think most of y'all know that. There's usually trees and stuff down here. But what I'd like to do with Sky Safari is just kind of look at the horizon as a flat plane. Then you know what's kind of coming up and what's not, right? And that's the way I generally like to look at it. And Robert says, so I guess the dust acted like a lens distorting the shape of Beetlejuice. Yeah, exactly, Robert. Yeah, that's exactly what happened, I think. I mean, that's what it looked like to happen to me, like it got elongated or whatever. And
it's also not hard to imagine, since it's a red giant, that it's not as solid or as put together as our sun. So it's a little more flimsy.
Mm-hmm.
And if it had that cloud, maybe that produced a gravity pull that made the bulge on the other side. It's hard to know.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy stuff. And what's interesting is now Orion is actually over by the sun. So when the sun's out all day, so is Orion. And it's kind of interesting to be able to see that, because you don't always get that. We can't see Orion right now, right? So we have to wait till a whole nother season to see it. But this is real time. I have it set to real time right now. So the sun is just now going down for us here in Southeast Texas. You can see Mars up here in the constellation Cancer, right there next to the Beehive cluster.
Of course, Venus is there. Venus is
of course we
right
can't forget Venus. Where's Mercury, Eddie? Isn't it down here somewhere?
I think it's already set, I believe.
Is it? Okay. We lost Mercury for the season. It's around here somewhere, but anyway, I know the last couple of evenings Venus has been right over here as I walk out my front door, and it's just amazingly bright.
Right after new moon, they were framed together really nicely.
That's right.
There was a little crescent of the moon and Venus right there.
That's right. There was some great pictures that came out from some friends of mine online that were taking advantage of that. Lots of cool stuff to look at, y'all. As the sun goes down, you're going to get the last few sort of sky over here, which is sort of the Ursa Major, into Leo, into Cancer, top of Gemini here. Anything you want to look at down in this region is you've pretty much waited too late to get any of that stuff. You can see Hydra down here, the long snake constellation. It's like the longest constellation in the galaxy, I guess. But lots of cool objects there. And then the moon is in Virgo tonight. Eddie, does that mean something for our... It sounds like something you'd say at an astrology meeting, not an astronomy meeting.
I've got to check my newspaper to see what kind of day I'm going to have tomorrow.
Yeah, because and Christopher Mick can probably help us here with the astrology. Now, Christopher, if I pull the tarot cards out, will we get the 7 of clubs? I don't even know how those work, so we're just joking around here. But you can see the moon is we're at waxing gibbous phase now, which is just past Taco Moon, and we're now in waxing gibbous. And that's when you get the this sort of, on the Terminator, you get this sort of thing going on here where we get more and more of the moon every day from here on out. We just came out of crescent phase, and then now we're in waxing gibbous past, what is that, first quarter, Eddie, I think? And
first quarter was yesterday, maybe the day before.
Okay.
Then first quarter is when you see exactly half of the moon.
Yeah, just like a nice straight terminator right down here. But you can see the terminator now is getting a little bulbous, and that is because we are seeing the moon from a different angle. The sun is over here to the right of the moon, and it's shining down this way, and now we're seeing the dark side of the moon. That is the dark side of the moon. Don't confuse, ladies and gentlemen, the dark side of the moon with the far side of the moon. Two different things. When people say you can't see the dark side of the moon, they're talking about the Pink Floyd record, or they don't know what they're talking about. So don't ever listen to those types of people. I'm off my soapbox now, Eddie. Lots of cool stuff around that area. You've got Messier 104, which I think is everybody's favorite hat galaxy, and there you can see it there. It's in between.
Like a sombrero or something.
Yeah, it seems like they would name these things. They would nickname these things. Oh, look at that! I think they did.
That?
Eddie, I think they're listening to us. I don't know, maybe not. But Sombrero Galaxy M104, just an amazing galaxy. You can use these two asterisms right here, discovered by random amateur astronomers. This one's called JAWS, and when you found this little asterism of stars right here, you found. Because it points right to the Sombrero. This asterism down here has always been one of my favorite asterisms. Found by a guy named John Wagner, and it's these two triangles set inside each other. You can see there's a triangle, and there's a little miniature triangle inside it, and that is the Stargate. Just a little asterism someone found and said that looks cool.
What's really cool about these asterisms, like Will's saying, when you're trying to find this galaxy, you point your telescope where you think it is, and if everything is aligned right, when you look in the eyepiece, the galaxy is going to be there. If you're just a little bit off, you kind of start scanning the sky, looking through the eyepiece. Mm-hmm. That Stargate is a very prominent feature. You're going to notice it. You're going to say, hey, this is pretty cool. And when you see that, you've got your direction to go to find the galaxy.
That's right. And I would imagine that's exactly right. That's a great point. It is star hopping, because you're like, I'm on a star, and then if you can identify that star, then that's half the battle. You kind of know where to go from there on the map, right? And yeah, like Eddie said, this is a very prominent thing that kind of sticks out in this area. There's nothing quite like it in the area. And if you can get your telescope on that particular place, you can easily find the Sombrero. That's a great warm-up object because it is so easy to find. And I kind of use Corvus to find it. I take this little square shape, which is so easy to find in the nighttime sky, y'all. I mean, it's a tight constellation, Corvus is. And all the stars are bright, so you can see all of them. And what I do is I kind of take this bottom right-hand star and this one up here, and I kind of make a messed up line towards Virgo. And you can see this is Virgo up here. And Spica is always very easy to see. It's very, very bright star. Orion is too, which is right up here. But if you can just take these two stars and just kind of like, and then point your scope in that general area, like Eddie said, you can just start searching around. And if you're searching for a few minutes and you can't find it, stop what you're doing, back up, and then take a look at the sky naked eye and say, okay, there's Corvus, there's Virgo, and then I'm gonna remove my telescope with the finder and find this area where I think it is, and then I'm gonna fine tune my search in the eyepiece, and that's all it is. And eventually, you'll be like, oh, there it is. I mean, it's usually just right there in your face, and you were all around it. I mean, I find that's the way it goes for me anyway.
Yeah, the first few times you try that technique, it's a little challenging, but it is so intuitive. You'll learn it very quickly.
Absolutely right. And while you were saying that, Eddie, I took the liberty to look up C2020 T2 Palomar, which was the comet we were just talking about earlier. And it doesn't look like anything special on here. In fact, they have it with a very unflattering tail, I guess you could say. But that is the comet. Now, if I bring up the info, they have the brightness at plus 14. Now, I saw plus 10 at Heavens Above, and that's the thing about comets. You know, we need you to go out there and visually see this thing and tell us what you see, how bright you think it is. And over time, this comet is going to move this direction, which I believe is east.
You could probably show that on this animation, huh, Will?
Yeah, I definitely could. What I'll do is I'll take time and I'll go to, instead of hours, I'll put it on days. And I'll center the comet. There we go. And then if I just, actually, I'll put it on hours. Let's just do that. And then I'll center it. Yeah. And then, so now you can see if I just go in here, it's on equatorial, which I need to put it on, well,
do it on days, Will, and that way we won't see the green flash when it goes to daylight.
Yeah. Well, and I could bump it, you're right, by days, but what I can do is do this. I can put it on equatorial. So let's go back to now, and I can zoom back out. And then, you know, there's Arcturus and Boötes, and then we'll see the comet on its actual path there.
That's excellent right there.
Yeah, and all you do is set it to equatorial coordinates instead of horizontal, because otherwise you get dizzy pretty quickly. But this is, we're showing the date down here. We see we're into June, or I'm sorry, July. Whoa, that was the moon that just went by there. That was crazy. It was like UFO for a second. But you can see we're at the end of July here, coming up towards the beginning of August, and it's down here in the legs of Virgo. And if I just stop it maybe, and I'll take a look at the info, what sky stuff are. See, they have it going dimmer. It's negative, or I'm sorry, positive 15. And if I go back to now, you'll see that they have it at plus 14. So they're saying it's going to get dimmer. But again, I'm getting reports that it is plus 10. So you might want to give that a shot if you can. And it's right there tonight. If that's y'all's homework, if y'all do see it, I would love to hear a report on that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Plus 10 is dim, but it's viewable. You can see that with probably an 8-inch telescope.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. At least
14 and 15, you'd have trouble. That's very dim.
That's right. Yeah. And you may be looking for something that's basically stellar, and you'll be like, well, is that it? Like, I don't know. And you'll need to know the star field for that. But like Eddie said, a 10 at magnitude 10 with a 10-inch telescope, I think you'd be good to go.
Yeah.
And the summer is coming, y'all. I mean, I know y'all can tell by the heat of it. I know Eddie was talking about viewing the great Hercules cluster in Hercules with the grandson, and doing it in the new telescope, and probably from urban skies, Eddie, right?
Yes, it's very urban, street lights and everything.
Yeah, and that'll definitely affect your view and stuff. But that's an old favorite. I think that's a great warm-up object for most of us amateur astronomers. It's right there in the keystone of Hercules, so it's easy to find.
It's a good wow object. People look at that and they look up at the sky like they think they can see it with their naked eye, and then they look back in the telescope and they're just amazed.
Yeah,
I love globular clusters. They're just beautiful.
Absolutely. And there's an award for that with the Astronomical League if you're into it. M92 is another good one in Hercules. And Hercules seems to be a globular kind of place, which is kind of cool. There's actually globulars all over the place out in here. Believe it or not, there's some really cool ones. Of course, we're getting Lyra back, which is down here. And what makes up the summer triangle will be Lyra with the star Vega, Cygnus with the star Deneb, and Aquila with the star Altair. Did I get that right?
Is that the star there, or is that the one below the horizon?
Oh, you're right. Yep, it's right there. Whoops. I got to pull time forward a little bit. So we're at what? That was 8. This is 9. Let's go to 11 p.m. Let's imagine everybody stayed up late tonight to see the summer triangle, and there you go. You get a good view of it at 11 your time, wherever you're at. And you can see again Vega, Deneb, and Altair, and that makes the summer triangle. You know it's summer if it's late at night and you can see that thing out there. And then, of course, if it's the beginning of the night and you see the summer triangle way over here in the west, you'll know that fall is on the way. So basically, if it's over here at the beginning of the night, you'll know that fall is on the way. But look at the Milky Way. This is something y'all should definitely get out to deep, dark West Texas or wherever skies to see this right here. This is the core of our galaxy, the core of our Milky Way. And it is just beautiful out there. Lots of very famous constellations. Everybody knows Scorpius, which is right here. There's a globular cluster in there, Eddie. I know you've seen it.
Yes, I have.
It's the M4, and nice little globular cluster there. I say little; it's probably one of the bigger globulars. Not exactly probably the brightest, but it's a good globular. I've definitely looked at that on multiple occasions. And then you can see another one here, which is probably an NGC. For some reason, it's not letting me click on it. I don't know why.
It's clicking on the square, probably the.
Yeah, maybe so. Oh, there it is. 6144, right next to Antares. There's lots of cool stuff over here, y'all. There's all these nebulas in this area that you can get on camera. Just some really, really cool stuff. Really, really cool.
Had you heard anything about a nova that was recently that got pretty bright very suddenly, noticeably bright, and then dipped back out?
Yeah, I think it's still visible. And what was odd is we had one not long ago in Cassiopeia. And now we have one over here, and I think it's Aquila somewhere, and I believe it's off this right wing of Aquila. So Aquila is this eagle shape, and they're saying this is the head of the eagle, this is a wing of the eagle, this is a wing of the eagle. And apparently, and I can't confirm this, but somewhere over out in this range, probably out in here, is going to be that nova. And I know it's photographic. I know if you put a DSLR or something, even just with the lens on there, you can get it. I've seen a few friends taking pictures of it. So it is definitely something that you can find.
I read that for a couple of nights, almost a week, it was a binocular object. Now, it looked like a star. You'd have to know the star field, and that would be the odd man out. That's not there normally.
Yeah.
But it was a binocular object for a time. Of course, I had cloudy skies, so I couldn't go look at it.
Exactly. Yeah, and it was the same story here. I was seeing all these great reports, and I was like, wow, that must be nice. Okay, cool. Bye, Nova. Bye. We may never see that star flare up again in our lives. And interestingly enough, I think it's still there. So I challenge some of y'all to get out there tonight if y'all can and try to spot that thing and send your report. But a few years ago now, maybe even closer to 5, 6, 7 years ago, there was one down here in Delphinus during the summer, I believe. So a new star just showed up somewhere. I can't exactly remember where. It was in this Delphinus region, which is this little constellation sitting down here. So yeah, every once in a while, a new star will just pop up. It's kind of wild. And that's the way it goes. And then over here, of course, we have North American Nebula. We had someone say earlier they were working on that. There it is right there. And, definitely one of the more photographic objects. I've seen it in a telescope. It's just so big and diffuse that it doesn't really show up that well. And lots of cool stuff in Cygnus. Of course, one of my favorites is the old Crescent Nebula. Now, this thing is definitely photographic. It's probably something you're not going to see. But if you do have night vision, this thing sings in night vision. So if you know somebody with a night vision monocular and a telescope, beg them to show you the Crescent Nebula in the summertime.
Yeah. Take the opportunity. I don't have night vision, but I know a guy.
I know a guy who does. But yeah, and I mean, there's just all kinds of cool stuff to look at tonight and the rest of the summer, really. And I wanted to get to some comments here. And Davey says, hey, you're onto something with that nickname thing. Yeah, I mean, we've got to start nicknaming these objects, or how else are we going to know what they're called? We can't keep calling them NGC 452798587653, whatever, 8675309. I don't know. That was a song or something. I don't remember. Yeah, at 11 magnitude is pretty dim. Yeah. And but hey, you never know. Sometimes these comments will brighten up and surprise you. Lori says the Hercules cluster is one of her favorites. I would happen to agree.
Mine too, Lori.
Book Davies says, "Yep, clusters are awesome." The Ring Nebula is up there. Yes, Lori. Ring Nebula is over in Lyra, which is, I'll just swing the old camera. I say camera. The old planetarium software. The Ring Nebula is right here in Lyra, and hard to miss this constellation. This is a good and bright constellation, and one that everyone should definitely search through. Lots of fun stuff in there. It says Nova and Hercules. Yeah, so right at the edge of Hercules and what is that, Aquila, has faded rapidly to 10th magnitude. So we're talking 10th magnitude here tonight, apparently. And that's the theme of the evening, is 10th magnitude. So, and it was 6.3 when discovered. Wow, thank you, Van. That's awesome info. Our friend Chuck Ayub at Chuck's Astrophotography on all the social medias got a shot of it. Very nice, Davies. I didn't get to see it. What is night vision? Yeah, Chuck's Astrophotography. He is really good. He does all kinds of awesome TikTok videos, Instagram videos. The guy's really cool. He's a guy from like New York, maybe, or somewhere up there in that region, way over there. And he's got a few scopes, this guy. He's got a few scopes, and he wheels them out of his garage, and he takes great astrophotography stuff.
Sweet.
Yeah, he's a really cool dude. He's very famous on all the platforms. I mean, I think he's getting close to, I know he's got over 250,000 followers on TikTok. So he's one of the bigger TikTokers in astronomy. So and he's a super nice guy. Super nice guy. Chuck,
way to go, sir.
Yeah, Chuck is the man. So check out Chuck's work. And like Robert says, when you're looking at the great cluster in Hercules, look for the propeller, which is something that, you know, not a lot of people know about. I guess maybe some people know about it, but not a lot of people really look for it. And it's definitely not something that shows up in this field of view. But there's an X in the middle of this cluster. I've seen it. Eddie, I think you've seen the propeller, right? Yeah. X marks the spot.
It's interesting. You look at things like this, and you look at them for a long time, and you just start appreciating them, and you start looking for shapes. And the propeller is something that just, it hits you. It's like, some look like flowers, some look like squares, triangles,
butterflies.
Yeah, this one's a propeller.
Yep. And I don't know what Omega Centauri looks like, but it definitely doesn't look like an Omega Centauri. Whatever an Omega Centauri is, it definitely looks like a very big globular cluster, though.
Yeah.
Phil says Chuck is in Ohio. Okay, cool. I knew he was up north somewhere because he's always talking about snow, and I'm like, man, I'm glad we don't have to deal with snow, which is always a thing to deal with. Robert says, can you see the large Magellanic Cloud from Texas? No, you cannot see the large Magellanic Cloud. No, unfortunately not.
We're not far enough south.
We are not. And you know what, y'all? That's where we'll conclude this. What is it? The June meeting of the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas. Again, we're normally a club that meets in person. And for obvious reasons, we have not been able to meet in person, but we're kind of coming out of the whole COVID tunnel, I guess you can say. There's light at the end of it, and we will be getting back to in-person meetings hopefully very soon. We're still waiting on a few things until that can happen. When it does, we will definitely be meeting back in person. I'm not sure we're going to keep the online format going. We might not. It just depends on how it goes. But I will definitely be live streaming after we all go back outside and go get ate up by mosquitoes and stuff. I will definitely still be live streaming from time to time. So I appreciate all of y'all that hang out with us and watch these live streams when we do them. whether it's the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas stream or Coffee and Astronomy or the virtual Texas Star Party, whatever it was. I appreciate.
A mooncast, Will. You haven't done a mooncast in quite some time.
I know, I every time I went to put the scope out, it got rained on, so I was like, well, I guess I better stop doing this. But no, it's time. And then when it's clear, sometimes there's no moon, so you're out doing deep sky stuff, right? So it's always an adventure to try to find time to make those work. But there's definitely one coming probably this weekend. If we can keep that moisture off the east of us, I'm going to try to do one.
I got an idea for you. Someone asked a question, what is night vision? You got to do a night vision cast.
Yes. Yeah.
And that would be awesome.
It's funny. I actually have done a couple of those on my Facebook where I was doing the sprite thing from the X-Bar Ranch just less than a month ago or so, I guess, when we were out there. So I am starting those as well, where I can really show the night sky, on a level you could never do it with just a cell phone, I guess. So it is electronically assisted astronomy, or EAA, but it's just
light amplification.
Yeah. It's a light photon microphone. It takes in the sound, it converts it to electricity, it puts it through an amplifier, and then it gives it back to you as sound, right? That's what the device takes in the light, it amplifies it electronically, and then it turns it back into photons that your brain can catch. And the cool thing is if you put a phone in the way, if you put a phone in between you and the night vision, you can film things nighttime sky, which is fun. And I've had a blast with that, filming these sprites, these things that happen above storms. Just an absolute blast. And now I hear that my good friend Stephen Hummel is the proud owner of his very own PTS-14. Yeah, and so he's been out there playing with that at the dark skies of the McDonald Observatory with his own military-grade night vision.
Excellent.
So, absolutely. And then Liz says, when you meet in person, will you keep the online for us? California is a long way. Maybe so, Liz. We're definitely going to think about that. There's some logistical stuff kind of as we get back into it. So hopefully that's something we can do, that we can keep going. It'll be an interesting logistical thing, to because we got to have a laptop for the main meeting. And you got to have one that's for broadcasting, I guess, you got to have microphones for everybody so they can be heard and stuff. So we shall see. I know that the Houston Astronomical Society Club is talking about doing just that. For people that don't want to drive halfway across the country, like you said, California's a long way. So, but yeah, we'll definitely try whatever's possible, and we're open to suggestions for sure. But our lowly club, I guess, Eddie, our lowly club from Beaumont has gone worldwide, and now the world demands more assets. So that's
good stuff.
So, yeah. So, Eddie, thank you, my brother, for being here as well for another meeting. Again, Eddie is our treasurer for the club, doing a fantastic job. I think I saw an Eddie for President sign a banner somewhere.
No, I don't think you saw that.
He's running a campaign for you, Eddie. I'm not exactly sure who it is, but
I'm going to nominate a few people. Let's see how they respond.
Okay, that should be fun. But no, we appreciate your service to the club, Eddie, as always, and we thank you for the solar reports every month while we've been forced to meet online, and it's just been something that brings us back, that helps us remember what we do. And Liz definitely sends her thanks to you, Eddie. So we appreciate you, Eddie.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me, Will. And thank you for doing such a great job producing all this.
Yeah,
you're putting out so much content that's not astronomy. I'm just amazed that you still have time for us. You do a great job here, Will. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Yeah, and it's all a labor of love. We all do all the things that we do for astronomy, I think, because we all love astronomy. And I'm not going to be able to escape astronomy anytime soon. I mean, it's wrapped itself around my brain more time. I can't untangle it now. So, and that's just the way it is. And look, we got Bangladesh in the house.
Wow.
Hello, Bangladesh. Welcome to a Beaumont, Texas club astronomy meeting. We are so glad to have y'all. Since that's impossible. You can't get from Bangladesh to Beaumont in the amount of time it took to him to write that comment. You can't comment. You can't do it. It's called a comment. A comet. That's ridiculous. Let's see what's on the brain. I got comments on the brain, but we do appreciate y'all watching. We do these for fun. We do these to keep the astronomy club bustling and a place where our local people can meet and chat and hang out, and also where some of y'all that aren't local to us can join us, have a good time, talk astronomy, and have some laughs and a good time. So we appreciate y'all watching and hanging out with us. And thank y'all for sharing the streams and all that. We appreciate that. And I don't know, Eddie, do you have any last words for our people?
If it's not raining, get outside and look up. You don't necessarily need a telescope. There's all kinds of things happening in the night sky. A quarter moon or a crescent moon with Venus framed in it. It's a good thing to see. Go look at the ISS.
Go look at that. And even if it is raining, you can go outside and look up. You just may get your eyes wet. It just depends on how it goes. And then we got Stephen Smith, one of our newest Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas members. Welcome, Stephen, to I think maybe your first meeting, even though it's an online thing. But
Stephen's our newest member. Welcome to the club, Stephen.
That's right. Yeah. And Stephen's actually, I think, a pretty accomplished photographer. So we may be showing his work in a future episode. Who knows? Hopefully we will. Now, I will say that for those of y'all that stuck around, next month we will be having an astronaut. That's all I'm going to say right now. But next month on this platform, we will have a living, breathing astronaut, somebody that has been to space and is going to come and talk to us. Thanks to our buddy Carl Dunn. Member of ours in the club, is also at Carl's Cosmos online. You can find him there. And he's like, hey man, you interested in having some astronomers come on? And I'm like, yeah, awesome. And so Carl was gracious enough to reach out to some, did I say astronomers? I meant astronauts. Whatever I said, I apologize. He reached out to his astronaut friends, which he has, and got us one for, I believe, July. And Eddie, I guess I can release this now. We're going to have an old friend on the meeting for August, which is going to be fantastic. Our friend Frank Simo, I believe, who lived here in the Beaumont area, was friends with us. He moved to Germany about 4 years ago, and he actually got his master's in astroseismology. If I read the email correctly. Yeah, if I read that email correctly. So Frank is now a master's in astroseismology, and he was like, do you think I can make for the club? And I'm like, yes, that would be absolutely fantastic. To have an old friend come back all the way from Germany, which is something the internet makes so easy now. So we've got a lot of cool astronomy meetings coming up. I think right up to the end of the online thing, we'll be meeting back in person. Hopefully, pretty soon. And who knows? Maybe we'll continue it. Maybe we won't. I don't know. I'm not Will Stradamus. I can't see that. So Robert says, good night from Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. Good night, Canada. We appreciate you guys up there in the north of us, holding down the ice, keeping the ice away from us down here in the States. We appreciate that. Thanks, Liz, for watching from all the way out in California. And thank you to everybody who watches us. Thank you to Kat, somewhere in the background back there. Be sure to send her our appreciation, Eddie. And
she's working support right now.
Yes, she brought you your truss poles to the wilderness when you needed them the most. So that's a good assistant there for that part of it, I guess.
Yeah, she drove a couple hours to bring me some parts that I forgot to bring.
Which can happen, y'all. You will forget stuff on your way to a dark sky side, I promise you. So that'll happen. And hey, you just got to roll with the punches. And Eddie's pretty good about rolling with the punches. So that's the way it goes. But until we see y'all next month in July, I believe it will be the second Friday of the month. I'll have to confirm that, but there will be emails and y'all will see these alerts coming out online. We'll be hanging out with an astronaut. I'm not going to tell y'all who. You're going to have to come and find out because I think it's going to be amazing. And again, thank you to Carl Dunn for getting all that organized for us. And thank you, Robert. We appreciate that. Outreach is the name of the game for our club. And so this has really helped us broaden our horizons, if you will. And so we appreciate that. And that's all I have. Eddie, we'll see you pretty soon, I guess, hopefully in the next couple of months for some observing, hopefully, or maybe a meeting in person. Who knows? But thank you for joining us again, Eddie. And thank you to everybody out there for watching. Again, we'll be back next month with another Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas meeting. That'll be the July meeting. It's already June, y'all. This year's already almost half over. Can you believe that? Or actually is half over. So thanks, guys and gals and everyone else. We'll see y'all next month.